Hey there, this is Rita Costa and welcome to a quilting video. We have seen some baby quilts in one of my previous videos, and in today's video we are making a big quilt. Since it's the first time that I'm making a quilt this big, I didn't know many things. So there are a lot of mistakes that happened, and I learned many lessons. Also, I don't have too many clips, but I have only a few clips which I'll be putting in here and share my experience. Also, this quilt is very much close to my heart as I've used my maternal as well as paternal grandmother's cotton sarees. Now, I have been using quilts since childhood. My mother and aunt, I've seen them all doing quilts and we've always used them. But this quilt is very much different and very much comfortable. I carried this for my wedding trousseau. It's been 10 months for my wedding, and since that day we are still using it. And my husband and I both love this quilt. To see the whole process and know how I did it, watch the video till the end. First off, collect the fabric. Next, make sure that all your pieces have 90 degrees at the corners. If you're working with denim, then you have to be a little extra careful at the regions where the denim is mostly stretched, especially at the thigh region. Here you might have to cut the fabric into two parts and then get the 90 degrees. I have this roller cutter which is very much helpful. I've hardly used it, but somehow the blade is not that great and I'm unable to find another one. So if you have been using a roller cutter, please suggest one to me in the comment section. Roller cutters are really handy if you have to cut a small portion or trim a little where working with scissors is really difficult. They help you maintain the lines, angles, everything with the help of set squares or rulers, as I am doing in the video, which is not much practical with the scissors. Initially, I just cut the maximum rectangles possible from all the fabric that I had. Then the second step was matching the rectangles. I tried to match two rectangles having the same breadth or same length, and it was a big trouble finding pairs. So then I gave up the idea of getting the maximum rectangle and tried to just be flexible with one side and fix the other one. So one of the sides I fixed to an odd number and the other one I kept flexible. For instance, if I could get a 6-inch breadth rectangle, I wouldn't cut 6-inch. I would stick to 5-inch and then cut the maximum length that I could get from it. This is 7-inch wide, so I made many such pieces. And I have some pieces with 5-inch width also, and some with 3-inch. I have the 5-inch strip ready. I couldn't manage to get all the fabrics in rectangles, so I thought of making some of the rectangles by myself. So I collected all the leftovers and made patchwork using them. Some of these clips are from the denim jacket that I made, and actually I was working with both the projects at the same time. Here's a close-up of one of the patchworks. Once the strips were ready, I realized my quilt has no pattern and it looks shabby. So I managed to get a dress, a blue color dress, and I tried to make some pattern with it. Under the denim patchwork, I put a sponge, and then under that a green colored sari, which is my maternal grandmother's sari, and the black one, which is my paternal grandmother's sari. Pinning down everything, stitching, taking care of all the 4 layers was really difficult. The machine used was my mother's, which was 30 years old, and it was not meant to stitch denims at all. And here I was stitching 4 layers, one of which was denim. The denim patch made the quilt appropriate for winters. The sponge made it soft and cozy, and the saris added comfort and softness to this quilt. Since you know that denim stretches, it was difficult to maintain the corners. while I was trimming the quilt, I had to trim, then retrim, then check again, and it was a really long process. For the finishing, I wanted to use a pretty border, but I was not left with much options as the quilt was getting bulkier and difficult to manage with. So I chose light fabrics, satin for the top and another light fabric for the bottom. Here's the setup. Aligning the lining, the quilt and the satin border together. By the time I finished making this quilt, I was feeling a little low, thinking that my efforts would be in vain as this quilt was very heavy and I felt inappropriate for the weather in Goa. But fortunately and to my surprise, we use it every day. Here's the clip before the last step of this quilt. One thing to be noted is that denims usually have a metallic structure at the pocket region. The quilt had to be soft and cozy, and those metallic structures could be dangerous on the quilt. So I just cut out the region containing that metallic structure and then did some patchwork on that. Assembling the quilt was very much tricky and difficult, and no doubt that if I had to plan it, it would have been a better quilt, much better than what it is now. If you too want to try a quilt, then my suggestion would be just lay out the pieces that you have and see for some pattern, for some inspiration. A sketch can also be really helpful in these matters. So you could just draw a rough plan how it's gonna be and then accordingly work on it. Honestly, I'm not much happy with the border that I gave to this quilt as it's too light and it contains only 2 sets of fabric. But I'm happy with the length and the breadth of this quilt. And I finished it. This quilt is 86 by 90 inches big and I'm very much happy with this dimension. After doing the top denim patchwork, I was really tired and needed a long break from stitching. So I just packed the patchwork and kept it aside. After some months, I took the patchwork, did the quilt, and I was tired again. And then again I packed it, kept it aside. And just before my wedding, I got it washed and packed it well for the trousseau. If you liked this video and learned something from it, do like the video and tell me your views in the comment section. If you want to see more content on craft and other things, then do subscribe to my channel. Also, do share this video to your crafty friends. Happy crafting and happy quilting. Bye!